semifinals was where this storyline ended. They figured, the Cinderella storyline ended just before they did find their prince, and now they're in the grand finals. Could they really go all the way? Good grief. My panel is joining me. I need to stop talking. It is, of course, Winter, Malini, Imperium, Flax. And, I mean, we'll start with you, Ted. You've believed in them since the beginning, but this still must feel...
I'm not sure it was quite the beginning, but I'll take credit for that anyway. As soon as I saw them starting to play, and you saw them playing their game, it was hard not to believe that they were going to cause big problems for some of these bigger teams. And one of the things that they seem to understand is the movement. Their movement around the map and their ability to completely surprise teams, to flank them constantly. Two people popping up. It's like, who are these guys behind? The power of the Nyx and the Bounty Hunter is that they don't just use it to disrupt early, they disrupt fights. If you're playing against a team that wants to group up, they understand how to play against you. They're constantly flanking and looking for movement and angles, and then they're using players like Madara with heroes like Timbersword to just constantly disrupt everything else, diving to the back line and killing people. It's just incredible play.
There was doubt in the draft. The double invis, Ben, and had your ears perked up, you were a little cautious about it, but they seem to put it into action.
Skylark had so many double impales this game, and even though they did have, they were very cautious with the chicken, but even Mech maybe next time got a chicken snipe in this game, right there. 30 seconds ago.
It was just a game that it does seem, Winter, to have caught your tongue just a little bit. Ad Finem. Happy to see Ad Finem take this. You did a prediction with your heart, and they have continued to exceed expectation.
I mean, they're really strong. As Ted mentioned, the movements were really good. How they're able to pull this draft together. They have two invis heroes, but they were constantly moving, and they got so many flank initiations because as DC, you couldn't place sentries everywhere. They found the openings, they found the first moves with the Nyx, especially the whole game.
Luna, and then
even with the high rare rage, the Timber was just
what is going on? Some crazy stuff once again from Liquid.
They did not have enough damage to kill him through that reactive armor.
Good old abuse.
It almost feels like they know
absolutely
exactly where the enemies
are
and how to move around.
Means they're not getting a bounty rune, I believe. I'm curious to see how that plays out, because they're not going to get out there in time, but obviously getting...
near Roche, so
it's going to be a different kind of cast, I guess.
We saw Nyx and Bounty constantly doing this, coming around the back. I also think DC's draft perhaps wasn't necessarily what they needed to play against them. Windranger didn't seem to have a huge amount going on, and they ran 3 against her mid, and the sniper was still headshotting her all over the place. It was crazy.
We were wondering about the Windranger pick at the...
Yeah, we talked about it so much, like, after the draft. Like, why would they want Windranger? I mean, this game didn't really showcase why was Windranger picked in this particular situation. There was a lot of options available.
Right.
But maybe it was a player combination thing, because we know Weeha loves to play the hero.
Sure. But I mean, the discussion to be had is whether or not you take a comfort pick that doesn't necessarily fit into your draft,
or you pick You pick a hero that fits the draft, but the player does not like to play.
Right, and I mean, is that a trade? Which way do you like to see that pendulum swing, Ben?
Really depends on the player.
Yeah, depends on the player.
Well, like how comfortable he can be.
Yeah, I think for Wii you can give him kind of mostly anything, but I mean, Misery and we have played together for a long time. But yeah, this game he did get an iconic hero, but they lost 2 of the lanes, I think, as a result. Like the Sniper is a decent matchup versus the Windranger, and the top lane where they put the Timbersaw versus the Tidehunter, that was just a disaster.
Moon did play very well in that matchup. That matchup is like so difficult for Tide, but he was able to get a good amount of farm, didn't really lose the lane too badly, and he transitioned and moved around the map to help his team after the laning phase. But still, like overall, the general idea of their strategy, grouping up, they didn't really execute it very well. Like they were constantly getting picked off by the bounty. The Nyx finds a pick off here. The push just didn't come for Resolution's team.
Look at his face. I mean, there's a guy, I every time the jug popped up, I was like, oh yeah, there's a jug in this game. Like the impact of most of their heroes was so minimal compared to Madara, who just seemed to be everywhere. Like he had that great start, or maybe against Tide, you definitely favor the Timber. Moon did well, but they had no answer to this Timber. Again, like he was just able to do whatever he wanted in the game.
Timber was just a great last pick, though.
Yeah.
It's so interesting as well, isn't it, that we have a team, DC, who didn't drop a single game. Neither her, mind you. They could not be touched by any of the other teams here in Boston, and now the Greeks show up. And it's a 2-0.
If they beat OG, that is the greatest major story I can imagine. Like, it's just unbelievable. Your first major, and the team that they've beaten, the way they've played, the way they've approached it, their attitude is just unbelievable.
Resolution. Kind of the realization of what was to come there as the DC dream ends in the semi-finals. For a lot of us, it did look like an open and shut case. I mean, and yes, the predictions didn't reflect that, but in terms of favorites, I mean, DC were hands down, expected to take that victory
Absolutely.
away. And it does seem like the primary criticism you guys have is that secondary draft, right? I see you nodding, Winter. Just not happy with that one. But what about in-game? Once the draft was done, they must have had a game plan for that Tidehunter, must have had a game plan for that Windrun.
Yeah, but like what Ted mentioned, the movement, they expected so many of their movements. Skylark on the Knicks in particular, I think he was the biggest playmaker in that game. Look at his reaction. He knew he made so many key pickoffs in the game. He was running around, avoiding sentries, getting the first move for his team, getting easy pickoffs with the track goal on top of that.
And you know what? His teammates know it, because the other day when I saw them coming out, Spartan, we were out the back there, and Spartan said to me, he said, look, Skylark, he said, he's the best off-laner of you. And we were like laughing and joking about that, but he's looking pretty close to being, I mean, all 5 of these guys have excelled in their position. It's not like they have one star carrying them. They are all playing amazingly well, and the communication is almost telepathic.
The theater is on its feet.
Oh, people are going nuts. I watched some of Game 1 down there. People were going bonkers for AF. I mean, yeah, you can't not love this. And a lot of the players on the other teams were like, we love these guys.